Hello, fellow fantasy sports fans. Welcome to MFSN, the Hub's fantasy football strategy show, every Thursday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 1:30 p.m. Pacific. I'm Dr. Dan Ratner. I'm here, as always, with Casey Vlad to the Bone Scheinbold and Ross the Boss.
Hi, everybody. Ross the Boss here from La La Land. I'm excited, Dan. Like right now until like Labor Day, like Monday, it's all about draft. That's what we have to talk about. We have to talk about fantasy football draft. It's all people every night. I can't see tonight. Why? Oh, I have a draft tonight. You know, it's like every night everybody's excuse. It used to be like I'm doing my hair. Now it's like got my fantasy football draft. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you guys remember? Just Bob used to hang out with us. We haven't seen him in a little while, but he said that he was in like 38 leagues.
Yeah, it was crazy.
How do you even schedule that in your? I mean,
I don't. I mean, best ball is kind of easy. I mean, Casey and I are in a bunch of best ball leagues, but that's like one draft. You just lay the team there and you're done for the year. There's nothing else to do. But 30-something leagues, I don't know how you manage that. No idea. Casey?
Well, Casey, do you have an idea how to do that? You just gave him an anxiety attack.
I guess he has to divorce his family, quit his business.
Don't have, it depends. I mean, like, if you have a really boring job in a cubicle and you can be on your computer all day, it can be pretty easy.
If you're the guy from Office Space that sits there and like just listens to the radio all day and just figures a way to blow up the building, I mean, I guess that's the guy that can have that many leagues, I imagine.
Yep.
And isn't he the same guy who became one of the bad guys in Barry? Like he went from using the stapler to like mob boss. That's a pretty big upgrade. So let's first let me acknowledge my shirt. Ross wanted to bring this up.
I did bring it up. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. I mean, I still have Jim
Okay,
Brown
so Dan lives in Cleveland. He's not happy with direction the Cleveland Browns are going, so he declared himself not a Browns fan anymore.
Wait, hold on. It goes beyond that. It's not that I'm not
okay.
happy
Well,
with
they're trying to make the short version. So
okay, I see. I wanted to give the Tolstoy version.
I mean, it takes months and years, and it's a lot of people are losing their jobs when you tell them. It's unbelievable. Right. So basically, he declared, I'm not a Browns fan anymore. I'm going to declare him a Bills fan. And I said, great. I said, you can get a Josh Allen jersey. You can march around Cleveland with it.
And you see the Bills in the background, but I'm also wearing.
Well, he's wearing like a Miami Dolphins. They're in the same division. They hate each other. That's the biggest rivalry in the division, Bills Dolphins, Casey, correct?
Yes.
You mean currently.
The most important in the division?
Well, the biggest rivalry, I would say.
Bills, Jets, Patriots. I mean, going back to the days of
okay, Jets, Patriots.
It's
I guess
Patriots. Everybody. I mean, everybody.
Yeah, nobody likes the Patriots.
Yeah, but Bills, Jets I always remember that rivalry. But long story short, he comes on the air today. He's wearing a Dolphin shirt.
Yeah. Well, listen, I'm now. This is the freedom of quitting the Browns. You can root for whoever you want, whenever you want. It's fantastic. So let's talk about the draft. We had our draft last night. We got our Yahoo grades, and of course, the Yahoo grades. They always give out grades based on Yahoo ranking. So it's basically like, how much do you agree with me? Well, I got a D+. And so I disagree with Yahoo quite a bit.
I'm going to look at your team right now, Daniel.
Yeah,
I got a C. And as I mentioned to you, one of my friends who's in our league.
What did you change your name to? Peaches and Herbert?
That's me.
That's Ross.
Okay. Because I have, you know who I have? Justin Herbert. Yeah.
I
fought T-Law, but T-Law
won. Trevor Lawrence.
I fought T-Law, but T-Law won. In my other, I knew you would like that. In my other league, I have Justin Jefferson and Justin Herbert, so I'm Jefferson Herb playing.
Oh, clever.
I like to roam in the names now that I'm free of the Browns.
I love it.
So tell me what you guys think. Who followed the best strategy? This is a super flex league. 14 team. And of course, we'll talk about any leagues. So if you guys have questions about your leagues, tell us the specifications, because of course that's going to determine what we think of your team and what we think you should do. But this 14 team super flex league. I was picking 13th.
I was picking 11th.
Casey picked 10th. Ross picked 11th. So we were all back end. We weren't going to get those totally elite quarterbacks. I forget who were your quarterbacks, guys? Let's talk about it.
Ironically, we were talking about grades. I got an A- for my grade, which was pretty darn good. But they said my worst pick was my first pick of Joe Burrow.
Because
now, why?
I don't think Yahoo can calculate like how important the Superflex league. How you have to pick.
They can't.
You have to pick an elite quarterback, and the best quarterback available was Burrow, and that was the one I was going to pick.
You got him at 10, right?
And then I took Lamar Jackson at 11.
That's a super flex league.
That's amazing.
Right.
Yeah, then I took Lamar Jackson at 11, and and after that there was like, I took Herbert in the second round.
And I took Trevor Lawrence over Herbert, right the pick before. Do you guys see them as similar value? I do. I think they're pretty close.
Who's that? Burrow and Herbert?
No, Herbert,
Lawrence and Herbert. I think Burrow is ahead of both of them.
I think Herbert's a little ahead of Lawrence.
I think most people do,
but not a lot.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think
you're
most
looking
people
at
do.
one. You're anticipating with Trevor Lawrence. We saw potential last year and some of the things he did, and so we're kind of anticipating or projecting that he's going to keep ascending. Herbert, we think 2 years ago was what we should expect from him, and so
some people think that, but
Herbert's already done it once, and Lawrence looks like he's going to be doing it. And they added Calvin Ridley, so they're giving him more.
Okay, but I would just argue it looks close to me because Herbert did do it once, but then he looked like he regressed, and Trevor Lawrence looks like he's ascending. I think it's a toss-up at the very least. It's very close.
A lot of people are picking the Chargers to win to win their division. I don't know about winning the conference, but winning the division at least.
I don't
the Chargers
see,
over the.
I don't see them beating the
but
Chiefs.
People think the Chiefs are going to regress. I'm just saying what I read. I'm not saying they're right.
Yeah. No, the Chiefs are not going to regress. I think they're going to be in the AFC Championship game.
I say the Chiefs win 11 games. What do you think more than 11 or less?
I go 12.
Okay. What does Chris Waters say? Chris Atwater's already on. He's already saying that Yahoo is stupid and their report card means nothing, and we should be complimented if we get a C or we get a D plus. And whatever idiot gets an A minus, they don't know what they're doing. That's what Atwater's saying right now.
Now he also said I like Lawrence better. I love it, Chris. Thank you.
Because Herbert went to a Pac-12 school and he doesn't like Pac-12. I get it.
And the poor Pac-12. I hate that. I hate what's
last year Pac-12, Casey. If you want to see a Pac-12 game, you got to go this year.
It's very upsetting. Albert Mariquin, good to see you. He says good afternoon, and then he says, "How do you rank Fields, Herbert, and Lawrence?" Now, to me, Fields is clearly ahead of the other two in terms of my own rankings. I think he has so much more upside than the other two.
Ceiling higher, I agree. I agree with that.
And I actually think his floor is probably higher than the others. So I think he's better.
He is better.
Now, here's the thing.
He's not a better quarterback.
If you asked me this last year, imagine this question last year. We would have been like, oh my God. Well,
it would have been
dead last.
It would have gone Herbert, Lawrence, and then Fields wouldn't even be on the same play.
Exactly. So
Fields after Mayfield. Fields after Mayfield.
Well, maybe not.
Maybe not.
Dan would have done it because he, yeah.
Oh,
no.
Yeah. Chris Atwater says Ross stole it with Carr deeper in the draft. Let's keep in mind Chris Atwater is a Saints fan, so I don't know if that's factoring in.
Remember that Carr's just a backup. I'm not going to start him many games this year.
Is he your third quarterback?
He's my third quarterback. Yeah.
Okay, so my ranking here, and this is funny because I did take Lawrence over Herbert, but I actually have them ranked Fields, Herbert, and Lawrence. I think Herbert and Lawrence are close. The reason I went with Lawrence instead of Herbert is I had Herbert in another league, and I was just like, I can't load up on one player. If it's a toss-up, I'm going to go the other way. But I do
remember,
have Herbert.
Do you remember what happened last year with Fields? What happened was the Bears sold their team. They had new owners, and the new owners, I think, were talking about it, or there was rumors about they wanted to get a new quarterback. They wanted Fields.
Yeah, they were talking about trading Fields and keeping the first pick.
Remember that? And I think it really upset Fields. I think he took it personally, and I don't blame him. I mean, at Ohio State, he was awesome. He was a great college player, and all of a sudden, the new owners are saying that he's not going to be their quarterback anymore. It took it to heart, and he showed them because last year he had a great season.
Well, he had a great season, but if you look at his stats, how many passing yards did he have last year?
It's all about rushing with him, Casey.
Yeah,
don't even look at his passing yards.
It's true though. He would have lines like he'd throw for 118 yards in a game and score like 3 touchdowns on the ground. And in fantasy,
150 yards rushing.
In fantasy, we'll take that 100% of the time.
I mean, the guy's just on the ground, and that Anthony Richardson, I said Anderson. I'm just an idiot. So
he had 2,200 yards total last year. Passing.
Yeah. But when you rush as much as he does, here's the thing. I think the Bears
rushed for 1,000, but yes,
how many touchdowns
for fantasy? 1,000 yards doesn't. I mean, if you're getting 1,000 yards in fantasy as a quarterback, you're rushing for touchdowns too. He had,
I think he had over 10,
8.
8. Okay,
but if you're looking at this,
Hurts had more.
From a fantasy perspective, I 100% agree with you. But if you own a football team that you want to be competitive and win with, would you want Justin Fields as your quarterback? Like, talking about the Bears ownership and wanting to find a more successful quarterback had nothing to do with his fantasy relevance.
Yeah, well, I think though you got to keep in mind the NFL is changing. Look at Jalen Hurts. I mean, if Justin Fields can use that running ability to become the next Jalen Hurts, then yes, I do want that for sure.
Sure.
Andrew and Zola says, how y'all feel about my 10-team league? Watson, Anthony, Madison, Jacobs, JJ, looks like. Is that?
Yeah, Justin Jefferson, J-Jets.
Okay, J-Jets. Okay. A.J. Brown. Wow, that's some great receivers. Mark Andrews, Miles Sanders, and Breece Hall on the bench waiting. Okay,
so go
so
ahead.
Let's see. You got, this looks like it's a one-quarterback league. You got Deshaun Watson. Then you got Madison, Jacobs as
well, is he saying
back.
His second quarterback is Anthony Richardson?
It looks, where... I don't see Richardson there.
His second name
Madison
after Watson
is Alexander Madison.
Well, I mean, so Watson, I'm worried about Watson. I didn't draft him in one of my leagues. I would never draft him.
I'm worried about Watson myself also.
I mean, I just feel he looked so bad last year. I know it's just his first year coming back, but it doesn't matter.
There's going to be a lot of booing in Cleveland.
Horrible. And
I think Anthony Richardson is his second quarterback.
Yeah.
I guess that's who Anthony is there.
Yeah, I mean, all these rookie quarterbacks that are starting this year, including the Heisman Trophy winner, including C.J. Stroud also, I don't have much faith in all three of them. I wouldn't.
Okay, but here's what I do like about this team. It is a 10-team league, so you got to remember, they're going to be pretty loaded.
Yeah.
He's loaded everywhere else. I think you're going to need to upgrade Deshaun Watson, and I would do it sooner rather than later, because if he starts to play badly, it's gonna be hard to offload him. That's clearly your weak spot.
And the Browns are just going to hand the ball off to Chubb, 25 times a game,
unless they need a first down, in which they'll do a backwards screen pass. That's what they love to do.
I do like Peoples-Jones. I did draft him. I think he'll have a good year. I like that kid. I don't
feel like you're a Cleveland Browns fan. Is that true?
I am.
He's not.
We've covered this.
Up.
It's not. It's.
He gave up.
I wanted to enjoy my life. It's ridiculous. So Breece Hall is going to come in and fill one of those running back spots. It's going to be Breece Hall and Jacobs more than Madison, though I think Madison's very good. But I love Justin Jefferson and A.J. Brown. Mark Andrews at tight end is great. Miles Sanders, very underrated. I think he's going to be a bell cow back, actually. Obviously, injuries can happen, but you're loaded everywhere. I would be looking to upgrade Watson immediately and then see where you can find wiggle room. And I probably would. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I would probably use running backs to upgrade. I would maybe pair Miles Sanders with Watson, see if you can get a pretty solid upgrade. If you can get, who would you think you guys can get in that?
Miles Sanders and Deshaun Watson?
Yeah, for a quarterback.
Oof.
It's a 10-team league, keep in mind.
Yeah, I mean, I would try to get maybe like a Joe Burrow, or maybe
Burrow is who I was thinking.
Maybe like a Lamar Jackson.
I don't think
Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson either.
Not in a 10-team league. I think you're looking in that Daniel Jones type of range.
Actually, though, Casey, think about it. How many quarterbacks are there that are that good in a 10-team league? Is there like an 11th quarterback that is just going to be sitting around on the bench? I think you can pry that away. It might not be Burrow.
No, you're going to get somebody's second quarterback. So you need somebody who, because nobody's going to take Watson as their first quarterback if they have Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson.
Okay, maybe you trade.
You're looking maybe Trevor Lawrence. You might be able to steal from somebody.
You can get Trevor Lawrence to do that in a heartbeat.
I'd rather have Tua than Watson also. I think Tua.
Yeah, I was thinking that Tua, Daniel Jones.
What about Aaron Rodgers? I'd rather have Aaron Rodgers than Watson.
Well, he might be in a 10-team league. He might be out there somewhere.
He might be.
You might be able to get him straight.
I don't have any faith. Watson, fantasy-wise, it's just for value-wise, it's not that much.
Yeah. I mean, the Browns should have known he was going to be A, rusty, maybe not the same player, and B, they need to remember he's a member of the Cleveland Browns. Okay. Chris Atwater says Watson. Oof. So we got some agreement on Watson. We like the team otherwise. Andrew says, "Oh yeah, it was Alexander Madison." So it's not.
Yeah, let me address Alexander Madison. I watched him play last year. He looked slow and heavy. I mean, he did not look good in preseason. I think he'll lose that job to one of those rookies they drafted in Minnesota. That's my opinion. I don't think Madison's going to keep that starting job.
I actually disagree.
I'm a believer about that.
And I go the other way on it. I think Madison's going to be an undervalued player, but we will see. Okay, Chris Atwater's bringing up his favorite, Mac Jones. He's a huge Mac Jones fan. I think, Chris, you might be the number one Mac Jones fan in the nation. I'm not saying there's not others or he's not going to be good, but I know you love him.
Well, the Patriots got rid of their second string quarterback. I mean,
right.
Zappy, is that his name?
Bailey Zapp.
Yep. Bailey Zapp, whatever you want to call him. He's gone.
And well, he is now on the practice squad, so he's
right.
Gone.
I guess he went through waivers and he got to the practice squad.
Yep.
But Mac Jones, he's such a dirty player, and what he does, during the game to other players, and he tries to hurt them.
How do you be dirty as a quarterback? I'm trying to figure that out.
Oh, just Google. All you have to do is Google it. You can watch it. I mean, he'll after the play, he'll go after people.
Oh, after the play,
horrible play. I mean, during the play, if somebody's not looking, he'll block them. He'll block them. And try to hurt them. You can ask Atwater. You just Google it after the show. Put Mac Jones dirty player, whatever you want to put.
We're going to do it. I can't do it right now because I'm hosting.
Horrible human being. I can't stand the guy.
Okay. Andrew Andazola says, I have a 12-team league draft coming up with the same pick, but the number one is picking Jefferson. Should I go Chase or C-Mac?
Chase.
C-Mac's
going to get hurt again.
I would be willing to bet that Chase has a better year than Jefferson.
I was just going to say that
it can go either way. I mean, I think it's at least very easy to argue it's a toss-up. To me, it's very easy to not go C-Mac here. Early in the draft, you don't want to lose. I'm not saying C-Mac's going to be bad, and I hope he has a great year, and I hope he doesn't get injured. But running backs are risky, and early in the draft, those first 3 rounds, you just want to make sure you don't lose it. And C-Mac, if he gets injured, you're gonna plummet fast.
And he's hurt me in the past. And let me tell you a little story about a running back for the Rams named Steven Jackson.
Who I think we had him the same year.
Who destroyed me. And I was in a big league, and I picked him first, and he went down the first game, second play. I remember it vividly, Casey. I have nightmares about it. It's horrible. I still cry about it. And I would never, ever pick that guy ever again. And he never was the same. He came back. He was horrible.
And Ross, you're not alone. No one is ever going to pick Steven Jackson again.
No. And I met him at a Dodger game 2 years later, and I told him that you destroyed my fantasy team, and he laughed.
I doubt you're the first person who said that to him.
I'm sure.
Well, I had to say it, Casey, okay?
This league, by the way, is PPR. Now, does that make the argument stronger or weaker for Chase over C-Mac? Because a running back who can catch the amount of passes as C-Mac, I think it doesn't change it with these two players.
No, you're talking about the 2 elite receivers in the league, but I just like Chase better because he plays with Joe Burrow, and I love Kirk Cousins. Trust me.
Chris Atwater says standard scoring C-Mac. I disagree. I think it's Chase in any case. I don't think it matters actually PPR between those two.
I would stay away from C-Mac. I don't like what the 49ers did with Trey Lance. I don't like how they got rid of him with the 4th round draft. They gave away 3 first-round draft picks, and now they traded him away for a 4th round pick to Dallas, their nemesis.
Yeah.
I saw the dumbest thing I've heard in my life.
Somebody asked a question in one of our fantasy leagues. I don't know if you caught this. They said, how does the 49ers GM keep his job? Trading 3 first-round draft picks and getting a 4th back. Then you have to remember he also drafted
built a team that can go to the Super Bowl.
And he actually drafted Brock Montana. We're going to use Ross's name.
Thank you for saying it right.
In the 7th, so it kind of evens out. He messed up one. He got another right. It looks like.
I have no faith in Brock Montana.
I know you don't. I do.
No faith.
I do. I don't think he's Joe Montana.
Then drop your quarterback and pick up Brock Montana in your fantasy.
Did I say that? I just said I have faith in him. I mean, look,
no faith at all.
When it comes to fantasy, do I want Brock Purdy starting on my team?
Brock Montana, yeah, no.
And even in a super flex, I don't likely want him. I'd like him as my 3rd quarterback.
Okay,
that I'd be great with.
Casey, write that down. 3rd quarterback. Okay.
Andrew Andazola says I had C-Mac the last 3 years in at least one league.
Well, last year you really enjoyed it. The 2 years before, probably not so much.
But it must have been really nice to finally enjoy it after those 2 years before.
Yeah.
Chris Atwater says, but I love watching him play. I think that's about Mac Jones. Then he says, Brock Montana, agree with Ross the boss. Casey, what did you say about it?
I like Brock Purdy. I mean, look, the offense is built for, he doesn't need to be a big armed.
He's a game manager.
Right. Like when you're throwing 4-yard slants to Brandon Ayuk or Deebo Samuel, or a screen pass to C-Mac, or a little in route or crossing route to Kittle, you don't need to be a genius. I don't think it's necessarily Brock Montana. I believe in any quarterback in Kyle Shanahan's system for fantasy purposes.
Well said. Okay.
The one exception I would say is Trey Lance. I knew he was a bust. I never was excited about him at all. And you've got to at least see something. And he just never showed anything. I don't know what.
Well, I don't know how much chance he's had because of his injuries, but
it's true.
And he played in that Mud Bowl, and he looked okay. And he played another game.
Hurt in the next game.
Listen, I hope he turns it around. Everybody loves a comeback story. So let's talk about. I'm looking at my team, and one of my big questions is Deebo Samuel.
I was looking at your team, and wide receiver is your biggest need.
Yeah, well, we know that I don't need a tight end, even though it's a non-tight end league, because I didn't listen to Ross the boss that it was a non-tight end league. You can play him as flex, but I took Mark Andrews. So I agree. My wide receiver is definitely weak. I'll just read it out so people can evaluate the team. My quarterbacks are Trevor Lawrence and Anthony Richardson. I have Jordan Love on the bench. I needed to get a third quarterback in there.
I like Jordan Love. I think you'll start him over Anthony Richardson when the season goes further ahead, but keep going.
That would be interesting. But if all three hit, I could trade one for somebody, and that's what I was banking on. My running backs, Nick Chubb is number one. Obviously, I'm pretty happy with that.
Love him.
I mean, this is a 14-team league, so it's tough.
Well, that's why we did 14, because we're
I have Zach Charbonnet probably as my second running back. I mean,
okay, he'll get carries.
I think
Tank Bigsby's going to be a touchdown vulture for Jacksonville.
Yeah, so I mean, the question is my depth. I've got Treylon Burks, I've got Roshan Johnson, who I know Uncle Ted loves if he's here. Alec Pierce, Romeo Dobbs. I brought in Jerome Ford as the handcuff to Nick Chubb. So the thing you have to remember, and this is a very important point for strategy, is you got to remember you're going to need to keep building this team. You can't just draft and then sit there and be like, right. Oh, I won.
This isn't a best ball league where you just draft and you deal with whatever.
You're going to have to keep making adjustments. Okay, Rushman has a comment. Brock isn't going to win leagues, which is kind of the point of this. Totally agree. 100%. I was more responding to, I believe in him as a football player.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking fantasy.
But as a fantasy guy, I don't think anybody's particularly excited about that. Chris Atwater says, how many games of 17 does Brock Montana win?
Well, if you're talking to a 49er fan, that's like 15. They all tell me like
12 or 13 games.
Yeah, well,
I say 8.
I think the 49ers will win 11.
I think it'll help if Bosa signs.
Bosa hasn't signed. He's sitting around smoking cigars all day. And the running game, if CMC gets hurt, their team's done. I mean, they're not going to win without CMC.
I don't know.
Elijah Mitchell's a good backup.
And they're also built to win in lots of other ways.
Okay, we'll see. I think they're just overrated. Your
Arizona State wide receiver, Brandon Ayuk, is going to really be better than Deebo this year.
Deebo, ever since CMC joined the 49ers, Deebo's been invisible. I mean,
we'll see though. I
haven't seen him play at all. He hasn't done anything fantasy.
He had a terrible year last year, obviously. Chris Atwater says 14 was tough fun though. Totally agree. Now Andrew says, got an offer for Jacobs. I'm getting Mixon and Evans in return. Is it even worth it? No.
Okay. What's Ross the Boss's rule this year with Tampa Bay? Don't draft any Tampa Bay receivers. I'm worried about their quarterback
and your
play.
Receiving core is already AJ Brown, Justin Jefferson.
Evans.
So Evans isn't worth it to go from Jacobs down to Mixon.
I'm
not a huge Jacobs guy this year.
Evans was the number one fantasy running back last year. Points. Okay.
You mean Jacobs?
You mean Jacobs? Not Mixon. Mixon had like 3 big games. That's what made him. Gave him all.
I mean, he had 5 touchdowns in one game. It was most.
That was it.
Yeah.
Evans every year since even his rookie year, he has over 1,000 yards. But he's getting older, and Mayfield is his quarterback this year. So I don't know what kind of year he's going to have. No idea.
Yeah, but I think even though
Keep Jacobs.
Jacobs is probably going to fade some from where he was, he is clearly
keep Jacobs.
Just keep him.
He's angry. Guy's going to run on anger. He's
says,
so angry.
Dr. Dan, you need some receivers, though. I do. In a redraft, make me an offer. So here's what we're going to do. Ross and Casey, you run the rest of the show. Chris and I are going to talk on the side.
No, you're not going anywhere.
I'm kidding.
Okay, phew.
Now, Chris Atwater says he has 5 QBs, but I need a receiver.
He has 5 QBs.
Let's take a look at his team. All right. Go to the page.
South Coast.
He has 5. I mean, who possibly? Oh, yeah, he took both rookies, right? He took Stroud and
he's got Mahomes, Tua, Mac Jones, Stroud, and Bryce Young.
Yeah, he has the 2 rookies. I knew that.
Okay, now wait, hold on. Now here's the thing to do in your league, just a strategy. If you're in this position, go find the team. Like you were saying, you want to deal receivers to me. I have 3 quarterbacks, so you're not going to deal the quarterbacks to me. But there's somebody out there who doesn't have enough quarterbacks.
Yeah, so the team is called Joe's Lost Son. And that's my friend, Joe's Lost Son. That's my friend Patrick, who's the coach at Windsor College in Canada.
Okay. Well, okay. Now listen to
this.
He's
a football coach at Windsor College in Canada.
He's a super flex league. Oh, I'm sorry. I cut you off. Go ahead.
He did not make the draft. He was at practice. He apologized and he put it in auto draft.
Oh, I met Patrick. I like Patrick.
Yeah, he was like an all Canadian defensive player for 2 years in a row, like the best Canadian player.
I thought you said Canadian.
No, Canada.
Oh my God,
he's Scandinavian.
His name's Patrick Donovan. Is that more Irish? Can get more Irish than Patrick Donovan? Is there not more Irish name?
Donovan. Well, he could be O'Donovan, maybe. Does that?
No,
make
it's
him
Donovan.
Irish?
And his brother's the special teams coach for the Toronto Argonauts.
And his name is Seamus.
His name is Mickey.
No, it's
that's pretty good too.
Barty.
Mickey.
So listen to his quarterback, Chris. You got to go straight to Joe's Lost Son.
Go right to Patrick.
He has one quarterback, and his one quarterback is Baker Mayfield.
Yep.
So he definitely needs a quarterback. I mean, you know,
and he has Chase. He has some good players. I mean, he has some pretty good players on his team.
Cup or Calvin Ridley from him.
And you could even get DeAndre Swift. Don't do it. Don't do it.
That's a trigger.
It's a trigger warning for me. So yes, that would be one thing to do. And it's a great thing to do when you see value in the draft. It's okay to take that 4th quarterback if that's the best value, because you're building value in every spot on your team. Now, the risk is you're dependent on another team to make a trade, but generally speaking, you can get something done.
There's 13 morons in this league, so you'll find one moron.
Peaches and Herbert.
Herb? Yeah, what about Peaches?
That's Ross.
Herbert?
Yeah.
Oh, we probably should have let you talk about him as if you didn't know who he was. So let's analyze this team, Ross. You've got Lamar Jackson and Justin Herbert as your quarterbacks. You've got Derek Carr as your
best
third.
1-2 out there.
It's pretty damn good.
Well, I like Tua and I like Mahomes too, but keep going.
Well, okay, so now this is interesting. Let's stack this team up. People were saying I need wide receivers. Ross has Keenan Allen, Zay Flowers, Michael Thomas, Van Jefferson, who's not a car, as we discussed last
automobile.
Tyler Boyd and Jonathan Mingo. Now, I mean, from my angle, my wide receivers are close to Ross's.
Yeah, I think Keenan Allen is obviously the best of the bunch, but he's going to miss 4 or 5 games with a hip or back issue like he does every year.
Yeah, again, guys, 14-team league, you're not going to get like 2 elite receivers. You'd be lucky to get 1.
100%.
I mean, I took Keenan
I
Allen.
like the Jonathan Mingo pick as a late round lottery pick.
I like the Zay Flowers pick. You guys have no idea how good this guy is.
No, he was considered by many the top.
This guy coming out in practice, no one can guard him. And
to me,
in
Zay
preseason
Flowers,
he scores touchdowns.
Zay Flowers is one of the most polarizing players just right now. This is all going to change after a couple of weeks. People are going to have different opinions, but right now Zay Flowers is very polarizing because some people think he's going to be fantastic, and I think for the length of his career, he should be.
Who has
this year?
CMAC.
I don't know. Check that while I'm talking about Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers, to me, I've never seen a rookie wide receiver come in the first couple games at least. When I want the rookie wide receivers is later. You know, I did pick up some of them. Quentin Johnson I picked up because he's not going to be that good at first, but he's going to start picking it up.
No, he's great. I watched him play at TCU. He was unbelievable. And with Herbert throwing to him, I love that combination.
Oh, here's somebody you can trade to also there, Atwater. Call Saul to call pallbearers.
Oh, who do they have?
Eric. One quarterback, Brock Purdy.
Oh, is this Eric? Is this an Eric that's been in the league before, or is this the Eric who joined our baseball dynasty league?
I don't know.
There's an Eric that joined our baseball dynasty league.
I don't know, Eric, but it doesn't matter. Baker Mayfield is amazing. He's a good quarterback.
He has the best wide receivers in the league.
Right, and he only has Brock Purdy, so this is a very similar type of team. Okay,
yeah, he's not going to win with Brock Purdy, so forget it. Okay.
Brock Montana. Baker Mayfield, Chris Atwater says Baker Mayfield is amazing, so he has one good QB.
I'm rooting for. I like Baker Mayfield. Nothing. I mean, I hope he has a great year.
I really like Baker Mayfield. I never understood why people didn't like him. Okay, Chris says I love the Peaches and Herb name. So there you go. What about I fought T-Law and T-Law won?
I fought the law
and now that's like an earworm for everyone.
Michael Thomas is just it's a lot. It's
glass doll.
Lottery pick.
That's the issue.
I mean, we're just hoping the guy. I hope he win the lottery with them. We'll see what happens.
If I drafted Michael Thomas, I'm sure as heck trying to get Rashim Shaheed at the end of the draft somewhere, because that's who's going to fill in as soon as he gets hurt.
I think he likes Derek Carr, and I think him and Carr are going to make a great combination. That's another reason I took him, because of I'm stacking.
I love me. I love the stack. And remember, people are talking about stacks in different ways. You have to have the quarterback, or else it's not a stack.
Yep, I have Carr and I have Thomas.
There you go. I did have some I have some stacks in the back. Like if I'm starting Jordan Love, it's great because I have Christian Watson and I have Romeo Doubs.
And I have Herbert and I have Allen.
And I took Alec Pierce and Anthony Richardson. I
have Flowers and Lamar Jackson. So I have stacks all over the place, Casey.
And I wish I could trade you Mark Andrews and fool you into thinking that a tight end is useful in this league.
He'll have a good year. He'll have a comparable year to half the wide receivers on my team.
Maybe, but I could have gotten.
Ask Casey.
This is the new DeAndre Swift, but I did it to myself.
Well, we can trigger right there.
Albert Merquin says thoughts on Jahan Dotson this season. I have some thoughts. I'm going to hold back on them. Casey, I'll throw it to you first.
Casey, why don't you do it?
I'm actually pretty high on a lot of the Washington Commanders offense, as weird as that sounds, based on their ADP. Now, do I think they're going to be like league winners? No, but Dotson, what he proved last year is he doesn't need a lot of volume to make a big impact in fantasy. And so he's a good catch radius, good after the fact, scores touchdowns. It seems like he always just shows up unguarded in the end zone. I'm a big fan of him as a sleeper to end up in that top 25 or 30 wide receivers this year.
What college, Casey? I forgot.
Oh, the Pennsylvania State University.
There you go. Now, when he's healthy, Jahan Dotson is a top 30 receiver. I mean, this guy tore it up last year.
And he was a rookie last year when he did it. And people say rookies take,
but he got hurt. Remember, he got hurt for a few games.
And his problem is he's a slight build guy. Yeah.
Yeah, he got hurt and came back. He still had some great games. So I like him. And Thurston Howell III, who I really like him too for Washington. I think they're going to be like one of these dark horse teams this year. Everybody's counting them out, but I think they'll be pretty good. I think they'll make the playoffs again. We'll see what happens.
I actually agree with that about the Commanders, but I'm also gonna. This is a little bit of a hot take sounding thing, but to me, Jahan Dotson is reminding me a lot of Devontae Smith. I think that he is going to really elevate his game. I would not be surprised to see Jahan Dotson in the top 15 wide receivers.
Top 15, wow.
Yes, and that means that, you're probably going to have to, next year, you're going to be drafting this guy, I think, in the 3rd round.
Okay. Well, we'll see what happens. I hope you're right. I do like the Commanders or the Commodores. Any way you want to tell them. They might
Commodores
change the name
were great,
back.
especially when Lionel Richie was there.
Yeah, but I agree with Casey. I think Dotson is a pretty good receiver. I agree with you.
Chris Atwater says the Washington who? Maybe the Washington McDonald's? Come on, guys. Branding is important. Red, white, and blue. Oh, that's a good idea. But, we've obviously been debating whether the Commander's name, lives up.
Well, they might change it. They've been talking about because a new whole group bought the team, so they change it.
They should change it to the Washington Generals. Is there a problem with that?
There was a team already called that back in the CFL days. Wasn't it easy?
You think that's the main problem? The main problem is that they were the rivals of the Harlem Globetrotters, and they lost every time
on purpose.
How dare you?
How dare you?
I mean, those weren't real games.
No, they definitely were totally real. So is Santa Claus. We'll keep it at that. Let's talk running backs. In this draft, one of the things that I found is it was obviously going to be hard to find a guy who commands enough of the offense. More and more, our teams are divvying up their running back status. That's why I was actually comfortable with Zach Charbonnet as my second running back. He's a committee back, but he can command a lot of that committee anyway. And if Kenneth Walker gets hurt, he's going to be a monster. Now, if he gets hurt, he's not going to do me much good. But how many running backs are out there that are true bell cow running backs in your mind?
6.
All right, who are they?
Go ahead, Ross.
I'm just on top of my head. So I would say the new kid, Bijan Robinson's 1. Eckler is 2. Chubb is 3. I hate to say it, but James Conner in Arizona will be getting the ball.
Yeah, Keontae Ingram is his only backup.
Yeah, I mean he'll be getting the ball a million times. Cam Akers everybody discounts, who was a top 5 running back the last 10 games in fantasy football. I love him this year.
You're going way over 6 at this rate.
Yeah, at this rate, you're going way over.
Because you haven't even talked about Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, Christian McCaffrey,
Saquon Barkley.
Or Saquon Barkley.
Okay, well, I would say there's about 9 or 10 then.
All right. Chris
Atwater, you guys just named the rest I was going to name,
4.
but keep going.
Yep, Chris Atwater says there's only 4. Chris, I'm curious.
Okay, so probably Henry, Jacobs. I mean, just the
He's
basic
probably saying
ones.
Chubb, Barkley, Henry, and Josh Jacobs.
And Walter Payton.
So McCaffrey's not?
Well, he's not a true running back. He's saying true RB.
A true running back that's going to be in at third down on the goal line.
I don't think Bijan qualifies then, too, because he's going to catch too many. And we're also forgetting Tony Pollard, who's going to be a bell cow back for Dallas this year.
Yeah, but according to Uncle Ted, he likes that Deuce Vaughn.
Yeah.
I don't know. Deuce Vaughn, he's just small. He's so small.
I don't know.
Where are you, Ted? You're not here. Uncle Ted, you're not here to defend yourself. Now, Ross, you had said Najee Harris. You're expecting him to lose that job, it sounds like.
Yeah, I said that, and I'll stick to it. You always have to have some outrageous takes, and that's one of them.
Of course.
Najee Harris last year, his carries per yards per carry was one of the lowest in the league. And if you're under 4 yards a carry, you should not be starting running back in the NFL. And that's what he was last year. It was horrible. I love Jaylen Warren. I think he's a lot better, faster, younger.
He's better. Najee Harris is a plotter.
Najee Harris did not have a good season last year. And Warren had a lot more yards.
I feel for running backs because obviously their careers are cut very short, but you can even see them plummet in their ability so fast. They're just taking a beating.
Which is why nobody wants to pay them. So they do the hardest job or the most grueling job, and they get paid the least for it.
Well, let me just correct that real quick, what you're saying, no one wants to pay them. What happens is during the season, if a running back's doing really well, the owner will go up to their agent and says, listen, I want to lock him in for 3 years. Will you take this deal? And the agent usually says, no, we'll wait till the end of the season because I want to negotiate with you. We want more money. And what happens is the player gets hurt or he ends up not having a great year.
They never wait on the money.
The smart one was Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb, when they offered him 4 or 5 years, he signed so quick to make your head spin. And these running backs, 100%. They wait, and they just wait and wait until their contract's over. And then when their contract's over, they're 28 years old, and they rather have somebody young and not spend the money on you. Sorry, move on.
Yeah, and I wonder why they do that, because it's so clear that they should just sign the contract as soon as they're getting a lucrative contract that's long. Take it.
I just think it's like, if I have one more 100-yard game, I'll get more money. No,
but
you're not.
I will say this about Nick Chubb: he may have been smart to sign that contract, but I think also he's a special breed. And as you know, I'm not saying that as a Browns fan because I'm not a Browns fan. Nick Chubb I think he's going to be in the Hall of Fame.
He's kind of
Hall of Fame.
He and Derrick Henry are kind of that same mold of.
I love Derrick
Henry. Be in the Hall of Fame.
And when Barkley sat out, how much more money he got because he sat out for 2 weeks or whatever it was. He made an extra $700,000. That's what he sat out.
I would take $700,000 for 2 weeks worth of doing that.
That's tip money for Dr. Dan and I. That's tip money.
For me, that's like
use that for tips. And then Jacobs. He's making like $1 million more than Barkley. He sat out the whole preseason. It's.
What do you guys think is going to happen with Jonathan Taylor?
I don't think he's going to take a snap for the Colts.
So you think? And when? So
when? I agree.
When do you think he'll get traded then, or will he get traded?
I'll tell you the prediction. This is what's going to happen. Just quote me on this. He has to sit out 4 games because he's on the PUP list, so he can't play for 4 games. Then he won't report to the Colts. He won't do anything, and then the Colts will trade him with 4 games left. He'll play the 4 games because then it'll count against his contract, and then he'll be like he can negotiate a new deal after if he plays more than 4 games. So he'll be traded. He'll be traded.
I don't think he's going to be traded in the first 4 weeks while he's on the PUP list. The trade deadline is October 31st.
No, I think he'll be traded after.
Yeah. I think what he and his agent are hoping is that some big running back goes down in the first 4 weeks of the season, creating a desperate need for
which, by the way, I'm sure is going to happen. Obviously,
the odds are in your favor, right?
Yeah.
Like, if Javonte Williams proves he's not back and can't compete this year, but the Broncos think they have a good chance with Sean Payton, you don't think they're going to?
I'm fascinated to see what happens with the Broncos and Sean Payton, because everyone seems to think that the Broncos were so terrible because of coaching, and I think that certainly was a big part of the picture. But everybody seems to think Sean Payton's just going to turn that around. I don't see it. I don't think they have the roster.
I mean, the Colts went to Miami and said, "We'll trade you Waddle. We want Waddle for."
Yeah, that's just like.
And they said, "No, we're keeping Waddle. We're not
really." That's that's like Waddle. Me going to you and saying, "I have Saquon Barkley. Give me Justin Jefferson."
Not going to happen. All right, Chris Atwater weighing in on Najee Harris. He says Harris is amazing. He was an Alabama guy, I believe. Line was horrible. He was. Will be good this year. I agree with
Damian Harris, I think.
I think so. Chris, I agree with Chris on this. I think Najee Harris is still good.
I think Jaylen Warren is the better athlete.
Thanks, guys.
I actually hope you're right because I have Jaylen Warren in Dynasty. Chris Atwater says Evan Hull steps in and kicks ass. See you, JT.
Evan Hull will be working at my car wash by the end of the season, but keep going.
I didn't know you have a car wash. Running backs in a non-negotiable situation at this point. I agree. I mean, being a running back it's not a great place to be at this point. I actually think something interesting is going to happen where the league is going to find there's going to be less and less people willing to do this.
Kickers are making more money average than running backs. That's how they're not valued.
All right. Ban Santana says full PPR redraft, Michael Pittman or James Cook. Also Peoples Jones or Deontay Foreman. Thanks, guys. All right. Ross, you weighed in on Pittman and Cook.
Cook averaged 6 yards a carry last season as a running back.
Yep.
The only backup now is the kid from New England they got, Harris.
Damian Harris.
He's the
Alabama,
only backup.
So Chris loves him.
Everybody's went to Alabama. So I believe that Cook will get 90% of the ball this year, especially on the goal line. So I think Cook's going to be a big running back. The top 5 running back this year, James Cook.
Ooh, top 5. I do agree with you. He's a massive value. I don't know about top 5.
I don't think
Josh Allen runs the ball in a lot.
You got to take chances, guys. If you go with the grain, you're going to lose. Okay, let me just tell you. If you go with the grain,
you got to do. But I think
you got to do some crazy stuff.
Sure.
Michael Pittman is one of the people I won't have on any of my roster.
I'm fading him because
I'm trying to figure out how to say it, but I don't trust Anthony Richardson to get him the ball, and B, I don't think Pittman is that he's not that great of an athlete.
Doesn't get open.
He doesn't get separation. He relies winning on 50-50 balls. And then the other one was Deontay Foreman or Peoples Jones. Deontay Foreman is the number 2 in Chicago, right? But behind Khalil Herbert.
No, they have another guy too.
I like Herbert, and then I think Roschon Johnson is going to eat in if Herbert gets hurt. So I would take Peoples Jones there, although I'm not a fan of either of them necessarily.
I'm not what those guys would drive. Unless it's a 20-team league or something, you're starting Peoples Jones. You're not starting Peoples Jones if it's a 12-team league.
That's true, but in terms of value, I would rather
Peoples Jones. He went to Michigan. I'll take him.
I would rather have Peoples Jones just because I can see him having
a people person,
an easier pathway to value. Those running backs in those 3-headed committees, not that I don't like Deontay Foreman. I think he's a value. We're going to see a lot with injuries.
Here's my thing. Do you guys believe Chicago will be competitive this year?
In the NFL?
Yes.
No.
Okay.
I don't.
I disagree. I think they'll be competitive. They opened up with Green Bay in Chicago. I think that's going to be a great game. I'm worried about Chicago's defense, though.
I think the story of that game is going to be Jordan Love looked pretty good.
No, but what I'm saying is, let's assume they're not competitive, that they're a middle of the pack at best, if not third in the division and not in the playoff hunt. If Khalil Herbert gets hurt midway through the season and they're not winning, are they going to want to put retread Deontay Foreman, who everybody's seen run, or are they going to put Roschon Johnson in and see what they have going into the next year?
Yeah, that's the thing. The running back, the rookie running backs are totally different than the rookie wide receivers. They're going to get their playing time. A couple more comments, and we're going to finish up here. Chris Atwater asked Ross, where do I get an application for the Ross the Boss car wash?
I'll email it to you, Chris.
He's going to create an expansion in Alabama. You can run it there.
That's
Mobile,
right.
Alabama, yep.
Now, we're talking about the Broncos again. Peyton can't fix that. I think he is awesome, lots of love, but Denver will suck. And this is from a Saints fan.
I think Peyton's overrated.
I completely agree.
I mean, he says he's a mastermind offense genius. He's not an offensive genius. He's not a mastermind. If I had Drew Brees as my quarterback, I would be a genius offensive guy too. I mean, he's an average coach.
Ross, I think you'll like this little mini rant of mine that goes along
Bill
with
Walsh
what you're saying.
an average coach?
Who?
I didn't say Bill Walsh, or I did not say that.
But if you're saying
Bill Walsh is a genius.
But if you had Joe Montana, like
Bill Walsh is a different level.
Well,
he had
first
Joe
of all,
Montana and Steve Young as his two quarterbacks.
Yeah, but he won the Super Bowl 4 times. I mean, it's true.
Bill Walsh changed the game with the West Coast offense, guys. Come on.
That's the other thing, is the change of the game. So I think that a lot of people, they look at what people have done for them lately, and they're like, oh, now they're a genius. It's like people are like, oh, he won a Super Bowl, so now he's a genius. No, you're either a genius or you're not. Whether you win the Super Bowl or not. So let's try to sort that out. Okay. Chris Atwater says Chicago will be mediocre, maybe 8 wins. I predict them to have 7 to 8 wins. I suppose that's competitive.
They'll be competitive, guys. And
yeah,
I think the Big Tell is going to be their first game against Green Bay. I think that's going to be a big game for them. I really do.
We're going to finish up here. Ban Santana says, rank these 3: Thielen, Valdez, Scantling, and Lazard. I like this deep dive.
Ready?
Yeah,
okay.
Ross, you go.
Okay, Valdez Scantling is horrible, so I'm thinking him last. Lazard is second, and Thielen, I'll do number 1.
I agree with that. Actually, because
I do too. Unfortunately,
because Mac Jones is Valdez.
I think Valdez Scantling is just a placeholder until Justin Ross or Rashee Rice are good enough to take over for him.
He's never proven it.
Thielen, people underestimate all the time because he's a white guy playing wide receiver. He was.
But he's also been a touchdown machine.
He was second fiddle to Stephon Diggs, but put up great numbers. And Bryce Young's going to need a security blanket, and I kind of see Thielen as a security blanket type of receiver. Lazard is boring, but he's got Aaron Rodgers as a quarterback.
Yeah, and Lazard likes him, obviously.
And so Rodgers likes him. He's going to be good.
To me, I think if you can make any argument in a different order, even though I agree with you guys, I might put Lazard first with Thielen fading and Aaron Rodgers throwing to Lazard, but I don't make that argument. I actually think Thielen has enough. He's a smart receiver, always fine in the end zone. So I would put him number 1. Chris Atwater, though, says cut them all.
So this is deep dive, guys. This is deep dive talk. Guys.
It depends on how deep your league is.
This is a 16-team league, probably.
It was a pleasure. We're gonna keep up. We'll probably talk about drafting more soon, but the season's starting very soon. When's the first game?
Thursday. A week and 2 hours from now.
So I'll tell you what. The next time we're sitting down for this show, when you guys meet on Tuesday, you'll still be talking draft possibly, but we're gonna be talking about the games that are coming up, and I cannot wait. Very exciting.
Lions, Kansas City next Thursday night. It should be a classic. I think Kansas City
should be high scoring.
The over under. I know I'm not promoting gambling. I'm just saying what the experts have it at 54, which is a lot of points.
Yeah. Wow.
I'm not promoting gambling though. I'm getting my earful from my producer right now. Don't talk about gambling. Oh my God! Don't talk about. I'm not talking about it. Jeez.
Chris Atwater says security blanket will be Mingo for Bryce. I'd love to. I can't wait to see. I mean, isn't it so fun? We're going to start the season and actually find out.
We call him. Mongo, we call him because of Blazing Saddles.
That's right.
How about Mango from Saturday Night Live?
Why must I be the Mango? All right, guys. It is a pleasure being here with you. Casey, Ross, thanks for joining us here. And we will see you. We'll see you guys on Tuesday. That's 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. Our Thursday show with the 3 of us is always on. It's 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 1:30 p.m. Pacific. We will see you guys next time. Keep up the good work. Keep the questions coming.
Happy Labor Day and good luck in your drafts.
College football tonight, guys. Have fun.